Hello and welcome to English for You. I'm Seb.
I'm Shikling.
And we are talking about a really exciting event that's happening this month. We are talking about Pride.
Wow!
Yes. What is Pride?
Pride is for raising awareness of LGBTQ+. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And where does it come from?
For those people. It comes from a bunch of places, actually. There's lots of different Pride movements around the world. So yeah, it's about raising awareness for LGBTQ+ people and fighting for LGBTQ+ rights, because queer, gay, trans, bisexual, etc. people have different situations in different countries. In some countries, it's very dangerous to be gay, for example, or transgender. In some countries, it's more of a fight and a protest, more of a protest for rights. In some countries, it's more of a celebration because things are a little bit better.
Yeah.
So that's what Pride basically is. And sorry, you asked where it comes from. It comes from a couple of different places. The first Pride, a lot of people say, was in New York in the late 1960s.
Oh, I think I've seen the news of it.
Yes.
Yeah, it was on the news.
Yeah, there was a big, because last year was 50 years since the first Pride. So this is a tradition which has been happening for a long time. And it began when some gay, lesbian, transgender, queer people, especially Black and Latino queer people, began kind of fighting back against some police who were treating them badly in a bar. And that kind of developed into the first Pride parade. But now it's a very happy time in lots of places, and especially in Taiwan. And with this long introduction out of the way, let's find out more about what is actually happening in Taiwan this October.
This Pride Month, let's talk about gender identity. October is exciting for many people in Taiwan. It's Pride Month, a time to celebrate the LGBTQ+ community and talk about the problems that it faces. The biggest event is the Taiwan LGBT Pride Parade. Its theme this year is Beauty My Own Way. The theme is about understanding and respecting other people's identities. It's also a valuable chance for Taiwan to discuss an important LGBTQ+ topic, gender identity. Gender is something that affects us all. It's the ways that societies expect men and women to act, speak, and live their lives. Gender is different from what your body is physically like. When people talk about their gender identity, they mean the way that they feel comfortable behaving. So a girl who is excited about dresses and the color pink might have a traditionally female gender identity. You might not have a traditional gender identity, and that's okay. There is no such thing as a wrong way to be yourself. Tomorrow, let's learn about some other ways people identify themselves.
Okay, so our article says, October is exciting for many people in Taiwan. Right, there's lots of things going on, isn't there? There's Mid-Autumn Festival, there's Halloween, there's events like the Sun Moon Lake Marathon, there's lots of sports and activities going on. But that's not what this article is about, is it?
It's, next the article says, sorry. It's Pride Month. Yeah, a time to celebrate the LGBTQ+ community and talk about the problems that it faces. 这边看到 community 这个字是名词，代表社群群体，所以 October 10月对台湾的很多人来说是个很令人兴奋的月份，因为是台湾的同志骄傲月。那我们利用这个时期来庆祝 LGBTQ+ 的群体。 也利用呢这个时期来讨论 LGBTQ+ 群体面临到的问题。
Right, and we don't really have time to get into what the letters in LGBTQ+ mean in this TP, but if you look at your magazine, we've laid out what all of those letters mean, so you can check it out there. Anyway, the article continues. The biggest event is the Taiwan LGBT Pride Parade. Okay, so a parade, that's a noun, is a big organized movement of people or cars that goes through a city. Normally, parades are held to celebrate special events or holidays. In Taiwan, a lot of temples hold parades right before special holidays. So the Mazu Raojing is an example. Lots of people go out with lots of statues and floats and fireworks, and they dance and they make lots of noise and they do a lot of things to celebrate Mazu. So another similar word you might see which is close to parade is protest. Now the difference between a parade and a protest is a parade is normally more of a celebration and a protest is normally an organized gathering to complain or show displeasure or anger about something. So, for example, if you've seen the news recently, the Black Lives Matter protests were not a celebration. No, most of them weren't a celebration. They were more of an expression of anger about things happening in the US, which we'll be talking about in another unit soon. We also have this word parade floats. Now that's 花车. So if you go to a parade, you'll see lots of cars which are decorated with lots of things, and those are parade floats. Anyway, let's get on to our example sentence. Every winter, London's Chinatown celebrates Chinese New Year with a big parade through the city streets.
所以 parade 就是庆祝游行的意思。那在这期间最盛大的活动就是会有一个游行哦。那么 parade 也可以当动词，有炫耀夸耀的意思。 Let's make a sentence with it being a verb. The woman paraded around in her new bathing suit. 那名女子呢穿着新泳衣四处炫耀，看看我的新泳衣。然后呢，接下来文章就说了 Its theme this year is Beauty My Own Way. 这边 theme, T-H-E-M-E, 这个名词是主题的意思，所以今年的主题就是 Beauty My Own Way, 就是成人之美。
The theme is about understanding and respecting other people's identities. Now that's very important, this idea about identities, but first let's find out what respect means. Okay, so this word respect. Respect is a verb, and when we respect someone or something, we understand their importance and we act in a polite way toward them. Often, we are very welcoming of someone or something when we respect it too. You might have heard someone tell you to respect your elders before. That means to treat older people very politely and to see them as important. We could also say that we are respectful to older people when we behave in this way toward them. Respectful, by the way, is an adjective. We can also use respect in other ways too. We respect a rule when we do what the rule says. Respecting a rule is the opposite of breaking a rule. We can also respect someone's culture or respect someone's ID, someone's identity, which we will get further into in a little minute. First though, let's take a look at this example sentence. Maria is a Christian, but she respects people with other beliefs as well.
所以 respect 就是尊重、重视的意思。那么它也可以当名词哦，譬如说 We have to show respect for our elders. 那么 Seb 老师提到的字 respectful 就是尊敬的、尊重人的。那我们再来看看其他类似的字哦，像是 respected 代表这个人是受尊敬的或者是受敬重的，譬如说 He is widely respected for his kind heart. 或者是 respectable 代表值得被尊敬的。那如果在前面字首加上 dis 变成 dis 就会代表相反否定的，变成反义词。所以不尊敬别人、轻蔑别人的，我们可以说 disrespect， 或者是呢无理的变成 disrespectful。
We also saw this word identity, and this is probably the most important vocab word we're going to look at in this whole unit. Identity is a noun, and your identity is who you are, or the different things that make up who you are. For example, being British, being gay, being a Spanish speaker, loving history, being a history nerd, so 理师小博士, being a runner, being a young person. These are all parts of my identity. They are all parts of who I am. If I meet someone who has similar parts to their identity, I might feel like I identify with them. Identify is a verb, the verb form of identity. Or I could also say that I have a lot in common with them. I share a lot of experiences with them. Because your identity is who you are, similar words like identification mean the cards that you carry with you as proof of who you are. We can also call them ID cards. That means identification cards. An ID includes your passport and your 身份证. Now, an example sentence of how we can use identity is, Josie's religion is an important part of her identity, so she never hides it from anyone.
所以 identity 就是身份认同。那我们文章说这次游行的主题呢，就是有关了解以及尊重其他人的身份。
So this slogan, this theme, beauty my own way, it basically means you are beautiful when you are you, and we all have our own way of being beautiful, okay? So there's not a right way of being. So why do you think that they chose this topic, Chicolin?
I think they wanted to get people to think about the LGBTQ plus topic, maybe.
Yeah, there's actually a very important topic in LGBTQ in the community right now, and that's what this article is about. The article says, it's also a valuable chance for Taiwan to discuss an important LGBTQ plus topic, gender identity. We'll talk more about what gender identity is in a minute, but it has to do with how you personally see your gender, 你的性别. Whether you see yourself as more masculine, 男性气质, or feminine, 女性气质, or something in between, or something outside of those ideas entirely. But first we need to talk about the word discuss. Now, discuss is a verb, and this word basically means to talk about something in lots of detail. So if we discuss gender identity, we could be talking about different identities, what life might be like for people with those identities, and some problems that people with different identities face. We're having a big talk about it. We could also say we're having a discussion about it. And that's the noun form, discussion. Let's go on to an example sentence now. An example for discuss is, the teacher asked Brian to stay behind after class so she could discuss his poor grades with him.
所以 discuss 就是讨论谈论，那么名词就是 discussion， 我们就可以说 to have a discussion over, about 或者是 on something。譬如说 we had a discussion over gender equality in class today。那什么事情正在被讨论中，我们就可以说 something is under discussion。So let's make a sentence with it. Whether or not he will release an album this year is under discussion. And we also see another word, topic, in the article, right? Let's take a look.
Okay, so topic is a noun, and it's a subject or a thing that people talk about within a conversation. There are lots of different phrases we can use with topic. So, for example, to go off topic. I asked Marie how her day at work was. But she quickly went off topic and started talking about her new car. The thing I asked Marie about was her day. It wasn't about her new car, so she went off topic when she changed the subject. We can also change the topic in the same way that we change the subject. So Ryan could see that his question made Max uncomfortable, so he changed the topic and talked about something else. Here's another example sentence showing us how we can use topic. Be careful when you talk about John's ex-girlfriend. That's a sensitive topic for him, and he might get upset.
所以 topic 这边是名词，就是主题论题的意思，所以这也是台湾讨论一个重要的 LGBTQ+ 议题，也就是性别认同的宝贵机会哦。那么老师提到了2个片语，我们分别来讲一下。第一个 to go off topic， 意思就是有点像歪了或者是话题跳掉了。那么 to change the topic， 我们就是有转换话题的意思，我们也可以把 topic 用 subject 来代替，都是可以的。
So why is this such an important topic? Well, it's because the article says gender is something that affects us all. Right, no matter who you are, your gender can make your life easier or harder, or a mixture of both. Why is this though? Why is gender so important?
Okay, and next the article says, it's the ways that societies expect men and women to act, speak, and live their lives. 所以性别了影响我们全部的人呢，这是社会期望男人和女人的行动、说话和生活的方式。
Gender is different from what your body is physically like. In English, we actually use 2 words when we're discussing these ideas. We use gender to talk about the way that we are expected to behave and live our lives, like Chicklin was just saying. But we use the word sex to talk about a person or animal's physical body. So we could say his sex is male. He has a male body.
所以 physically 就是生理上的，所以我们知道把 ly 拿掉就是 physical 就是生理上的，所以我们的性别呢跟我们生理上其实生理上看起来是怎么样，不代表你性别真的是那样子的。那接下来文章又说了 When people talk about their gender identity, they mean the way that they feel comfortable behaving. 所以当我们谈论到自己性别认同的时候呢，是指我们自己感到自在的表现方式。
So the article says, a girl who is excited about dresses and the color pink might have a traditionally female gender identity. Traditionally is an adverb, and when something happens traditionally, it happens in a way that has been common for a very long time, or in a way that was true in the past, or according to ideas that are widely accepted. So here's an example of how that works. Traditionally, women wore long dresses and they didn't work. Okay, those were ways that things happened in the past and were accepted in the past. We call things traditions when they are positive. We normally call things tradition when they are positive. However, like our example sentence just then, something happening traditionally doesn't mean that it will always mean that it happens in a good way. Traditionally, in the US, black people had fewer rights than white people. That's an example of a tradition being a bad thing. So having a traditional gender identity is not a bad thing or a good thing, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, let's look a bit more at this adverb.
好，大家我们来看一下 traditionally 这一个副词，它指的是传统上的。所以啊，一个对洋装或者是粉红色感到好兴奋的小女孩，就比较像是具有传统上的女性性别认同的人。那这边虽然是副词呢，我们来看一下几个其他的变化型哦，像是传统当名词就是 tradition， 那么如果是形容词呢，哈哈 ，you got it right， 就是加 al， 所以变 traditional 传统的。那么如果呢，我们说一个人打破传统，我们可以用 to break with tradition. So let's make a sentence. The princess broke with tradition by marrying a poor man from the village. And next, the article goes on saying, you might not have a traditional gender identity, and that's okay.
Yes, the article says there's no such thing as a wrong way to be yourself. Right? We all have our own way of being ourselves.
所以呢，只要你是做自己想要的样子，并没有错。There is no such thing as something， 就是没有这种事情，没有这种东西。
So the article says, tomorrow, let's learn about some other ways people identify themselves.
Identify 认同的意思，把某件事情跟某物视成同一个事物，这些都是 identify 可以用来的意思哦。譬如说 to identify someone as someone， 或者是 something 都可以，或者 to identify as someone or something 都是可以的。我们直接造一个例句比较清楚。She used to say she was straight, but now she identifies as bisexual.
So straight is 异性恋, right?
Right.
Yes, right. So she used to say that she was straight, but now she identifies in a different way. That's the end of the article for today, but let's go to today's For You chat question, and then we will talk about more gender identities later on tomorrow.
For You chat.
Okay, so our For You chat question for today is, what other parts of your identity, so again, that's who you are, what other parts of your identity are important to you? Okay, so Chiklin, what's something about you that's important to you?
Well, I think it's my heart. You know, I think sometimes I'm too kind and people might bully me. I mean, in a way, you know, sometimes people treat me really badly because they think I wouldn't do anything bad to them. I wouldn't do anything back to them, you know, I wouldn't attack them. But even if that's the case, I still want to keep that kindness inside of my heart because that's who I was born with. And that's what I was born with, and that's who I am. I don't want to change that.
Okay.
So maybe my kindness, it's something that I think it means the world to me, and I think it's precious.
Yeah. So you identify yourself as a kind person.
Yeah, that's it. No matter what happens, like even if other people treat me badly, I still want to keep that. Yeah. What about you?
Well, we touched on some of my different parts of my identity in the passage.
历史小博士.
Exactly. But I think it's difficult to pick one that's very important to me. I think obviously, while we're talking about gender identity, then obviously my sexuality and my gender identity are probably very important today because we're talking about this.
Yeah.
But I'm going to leave that to talk about tomorrow. So, guys, for your activity, I want you to talk about things that are important to you. So when you're introducing yourself to someone else, and you say, I am a student, or I am from Taiwan, those I am things, which of those I am things is really important to you? I want you to discuss that with people in the class, and tomorrow we will talk more about gender identity. Okay, so we will see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This Pride Month, let's talk about gender identity. October is exciting for many people in Taiwan. It's Pride Month, a time to celebrate the LGBTQ+ community and talk about the problems that it faces. The biggest event is the Taiwan LGBT Pride Parade. Its theme this year is Beauty My Own Way. The theme is about understanding and respecting other people's identities. It's also a valuable chance for Taiwan to discuss an important LGBTQ+ topic, gender identity. Gender is something that affects us all. It's the ways that societies expect men and women to act, speak, and live their lives. Gender is different from what your body is physically like. When people talk about their gender identity, they mean the way that they feel comfortable behaving. So a girl who is excited about dresses and the color pink might have a traditionally female gender identity. You might not have a traditional gender identity, and that's okay. There is no such thing as a wrong way to be yourself. Tomorrow, let's learn about some other ways people identify themselves.
Vocabulary Review. Parade. Irish dancers and musicians will display their talents in a parade that will move down Main Street. Respect. Laura respects her neighbors by being quiet after 11 p.m. Identity. The police still don't know the thief's identity. They just know what he looks like. Discuss. We're going to make sure that the new train station gets discussed at the next government meeting. Topic. Annie is thinking about studying in London, so that was the topic of our conversation at lunch. Traditionally. Children in the U.S. traditionally go from house to house to get candy on Halloween.
智慧小补帖
Community. Theme. Physically. Identify.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net